Thank you for coming along today, everyone, for this webinar meeting the new TD pilot by Toby Dynavox. Really excited that this has landed in Australia and we've got it out on loans for people at the moment. Today's a 20-minute, 30-minute overview of the TD pilot. There's two other webinars coming up. One specifically for people with neurodegenerative conditions and more detail in the apps and setup for that population of people. And then another webinar based on our more developmental emerging eye gaze users. So we'll kind of today just look really at a brief overview of the TD pilot. And then if you're keen to tune in to the next two webinars, we'll go more in depth for those different user groups. But for now, let's get into it. My name's Amy. I am a speech pathologist at Link Assistive. I'm based over in Perth, WA. Part of my role really is to be able to support you guys to get to know the different products in the Link Assistive range. We've got speech pathologists throughout Australia. So please, if you have any questions after today, get in touch with the Link Assistive team and they'll be able to help. So today, let's get started about the TD pilot. It provides communication access through an iPad iOS environment through eye control. So this is new. This is something that we haven't had in the Link Assistive range before, the ability to operate an iPad through eye tracking. So this is very exciting, and this is what the TD pilot was built for. So Toby Dynavox built the TD pilot. Really, it all comes down to choice. We know that we've got lots of users and families who are Apple iOS users. And until now, those users have had to learn Windows and access Windows-based eye control devices. So it really came down to choice, and Toby Dynavox wanted to be able to provide an option for those users who are Apple iOS familiar with those platforms. So it really is designed for someone who's already using an iPhone, iPad, Mac computer, where they have everything set up, but perhaps now they also require AAC. So maybe this is someone with a neurodegenerative condition, like motor neuron disease, that all their life they've been an Apple user, and they're now needing an alternative access method of eye gaze. Perhaps it's a student who's at a school who are very much Apple Mac, Apple iPad schools, and we're trying to provide them with an option that lets them participate and learn and engage in school and the curriculum the same way as their peers. So that's who it's designed for. It's an iPad iOS based solution. It is made for iPad, so there's a process that Toby Dynavox has gone through as part of Apple's certification program to ensure that the accessories meet the standard of quality of Apple. So part of the process is about getting it certified by Apple and accessing the Assistive Touch inbuilt features that's already on iPad, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It has the eye tracker that you're all familiar with already. It's the same eye tracking that we see in the Toby Dynavox i13s, i16s, on the iMobiles. So it's using that same IS5 eye tracker. So the quality of the tracker is the same as what you're familiar with already from Toby Dynavox. You've also got the communication software options available on iPad, and we'll talk briefly about those today. And you can also access the full iOS iPad environment through eye tracking as well. So it's really a full solution in that you can operate your full iPad tablet, and you've also got those options for communication software as needed for those requiring AAC. So in terms of the pilot itself, this is what it looks like. If I hold up mine, hopefully you can see it. It's a 12.9-inch screen. The iPad Pro is the base. You've still got access to your front-facing camera, same as you would your standard iPad. It's built and housed within a protective case. So the TD Pilot is designed kind of more like a dedicated communication device. You can't take the iPad out. It's housed in this casing and all secure. The eye tracker is also built into the casing. So again, you can't remove it. It's not like the iMobiles where you can unplug the USB and move it, computers and things. It's all inbuilt into the shell. It weighs 2 kilos, so heavier than your standard 12.9 inch iPad. But again, this is because of the casing, and you've also got some other features as well. There's up to 10-hour battery life of the eye tracker and the iPad, so should get you through the day. Still using, like I said, that eye tracker that we're really familiar with from Tobii Dynavox that's using dark and bright pupil tracking. And if people want more information on the trackers, the team at Litton Assistive can let you know. So in terms of how everything's connected, housed within the protective case, you'll see the connection between the case, the tracker, and the iPad into the base of the iPad. There are switch ports housed in the case, and they're there for gaze plus switch activation. So if you've got someone using, they use their eye control to move the mouse and then switch to click, you've got that option within the TD Pilot. You've also got your rear-facing camera, access to that, partner window on the back. Lots of our users like to be able to have face-to-face conversations, try and prevent people from sticking their head over their shoulder. So that partner window is there, and it can be turned on and off depending on the user. You've got your track status button. So if those of you familiar with eye tracking, you can pop up a box that shows, are you in the right position with your eyes? And I'll show you this as we go along. You've got access to a quick button. You've also got access to one power button on the back that operates both the iPad and the tracker. You've got a mount plate for the readapt mounts. If you're using Daisy mounting, there is a connection adapter available. So just let us know if you need that. Because it's designed as a speech generating device and a dedicated device, they've built in the powerful speakers for those needing voice output. And you've got a small adjustable stand on the bottom as well. So for some users, you may not need more complex mounting. The stand might work okay. Also on the side, you've got a single charging point. For those that might have been familiar with the iMobile Plus, where you had to charge both the Windows tablet and the tracker with 2 chargers. You don't have to do that for this device. There's a single charge port that charges both the iPad and the tracker. You've got a headphone jack as well. So when you get your TD Pilot, whether you're getting it on loan or a new one, it comes pre-installed with 4 applications. It comes with TD Talk, TD Snap, TD Pilot, and you've got the inbuilt Assistive Touch. And that is for accessing all other apps within the iPad. So let's have a bit of a look inside it. TD Copilot is where all our settings are. So this is driving the eye tracker, and the iPad is where we calibrate, check the battery level, access the user menu, anything that you need in terms of making the eye tracker recognize your eyes and setting it up for your use is in TD Copilot. So you'll be familiar with the track status, finding your eyes, calibration options, and accuracy. So what I'm going to do is jump into my TD Pilot so you can see that in action. Bear with me for a second. Oops. With the TD pilot, there are some differences in the calibration to maybe what you're familiar with. It does require, well, it does have less customization. I guess that's probably the main thing to know about. Sorry, it's not recognizing my, go. Main thing to know about. So that's really what I want to show you, is what kind of calibration options that you have. Hopefully everyone can see my TD pilot there. So TD Copilot is this icon with the star down the bottom. So as I move around, that's the little white dots are my eyes. The rainbow bar along the side there is telling me the distance. So if I'm too far away, that white arrow will be down the bottom in the red. If I'm too close, it'll be up the top. So first thing to do when you're setting someone up, make sure you're in the sweet spot in the green, and then you can calibrate. With our calibration, we've got some settings. So if I go to my calibration settings, we can do 1, 5, or 9-point calibration. We can still do either our tracking both eyes, our left or our right, and we've got our options for step through if automatic calibration is tricky for someone. That's really all the settings we have at the moment in regards to calibration. So I'll show you what that process looks like. It'll prompt me to look at the dots until they explode. And this is the tracker learning how my eyes look and calibrating it so I can access all parts of the screen accurately. Once you finish the calibration, you'll get a result similar to other Tobii eye trackers that you can see. I've got green as I look around. I'm pretty much in those points. You can either accept that calibration, or you can improve targets if one was a bit off, etc. So in terms of your TD Copilot, all your settings are in here. You can check your battery level. You can change the responsiveness of Assistive Touch, which we'll talk a little bit about, from being more stable to more responsive. It's also where you can access help manuals and about your TD pilot. So this is where you've got all your settings. Just go back home. Down in the star, that's your TD Copilot. So first thing to look for if you've got the TD pilot on loan. Okay, just jump back to my slides. Okay, so TD Copilot also installed are 2 of the Tobii Dynavox apps. Both these apps are available for touch access as well. So if you've got someone who maybe might need eye tracking down the track, doesn't need it right now, but you're looking potentially for communication software via touch access that can go with them, you do have options available. TD Talk is a new one by Tobii Dynavox. We'll talk a lot about this in the neurodegenerative webinar coming up. Is a literate-based communication app, and TD Snap is for symbol-based users, but also has an aphasia and a text-based page set as well. So TD Talk, this is what it looks like. You've got a keyboard, text prediction, and some quick phrases up the top. It really is optimized for eye gaze. So when I jump into it, you'll notice that it draws into the cell that I'm looking at. You can adjust your keyboard dwell speed. There's a few different features in there that optimize it for eye control. Talked about those. So this is really designed for that literate user who's needing communication software, just as a voice output piece of software. TD Snap, which I think most people are probably familiar now. is looking at symbol-based communication, integrated Google, intuitive editing, everything that you know about TD Snap, and we will be discussing that in the developmental PD. Claire, good question with TD Talk around the keyboard size. No, you can't increase the keyboard size. There's very little at this stage customization available. If you were looking for that kind of customization, I'd have a look at TD Snap text-based page set, because you've got a lot more flexibility in it. So yeah, TD Talk really is quite limited in the customization you've got available. It's quite a simple app. Okay. Just before I go out and show you through those apps, I just want to talk about a concept called region-based interaction, because I think this is one of the big factors I'm thinking about with which clients using the TD pilot might be suitable for. So region-based interaction is how the eye tracker assigns larger target areas to buttons. So it reads someone's gaze anywhere within that location. So if I have a large button, if I look at a corner of it or in the middle or anywhere, it's going to snap into that grid. What it does is improves precision and accuracy. And you'll notice that when you use this kind of eye gaze interaction, it will reduce the effort and eye gaze strain, because the software is kind of helping you out in terms of the accuracy. So what it looks like is when you look into that red circle, it'll kind of snap in. When you're using this eye tracker outside of TD Talk and TD Snap, and you're using it just in the general iPad, it doesn't have that region interaction. So the target is a lot smaller. So if you watch the green dot on the right, you'll notice that it kind of hovers around again. It's a little bit less stable, and you've got to be more precise. So it is just something to think about if you're using it with clients and you think, why are they able to do it really easily in TD Talk and TD Snap, but navigating the iPad app itself is challenging? It's probably because of the eye gaze interaction. So to show you practically what that looks like, I'm going to do it for you. Okay, try again. Just move you out to my screen. Technology. So this is where I think for our users that have good accuracy with their eye control, this won't matter. Perhaps if we've got our users that move around a lot or don't have really stable eye movement, it might get a bit tricky for them. So I'm going to get into TD Talk, and you'll notice as I look around, it's snapping into the screen. I'm going to go into the cell I'm looking at, and it's relatively accurate. So it's picking me up easily, and it's pretty stable.
Hey everyone.
Okay. When I go out into the normal iPad, see how it kind of hovers a little bit. So if I'm trying to open Safari, for example, and maybe I'm trying to do some Googling, it's not kind of snapping in quite as easily as it does within TD Talk or TD Snap. So I'm having to be more accurate. So maybe I want to go to the sport. I'm having to be more accurate with my gaze, and it's kind of hovering around a little bit. So for some users, you might find that it's a little bit unstable for them. We can move that with the stability responsiveness setting that I showed you in TD Copilot, but just something to bear in mind as you're trialing it. So I can still navigate Safari. If I want to scroll, I need to tell it that that's what I want to do. And I can scroll down. Maybe I want to read about Nadal. I can click on that. So I'm doing all this with eye control. I'm going to use Assistive Touch to help me scroll to get to the article. See how it's drifting a bit on me? That's the region interaction doing it. So then I can scroll down and look. So I can still navigate my iPad or with eye control, but there is a slight difference. If I go into Snap, this will probably make it really obvious. It's a lot more stable. The targets are bigger. And you'll notice that difference in stability.
I want more.
So what it is that difference in interaction. And that's just how the eye tracking works, really. There's not heaps we can do about it. It's about training the user and trying to improve that accuracy and calibration. So I just wanted to point that out for people as a consideration when you're using eye tracking. So Assistive Touch is what I was doing to navigate around the iPad. So it will already be set up for you when you get the device. And this is where I can tap, scroll, and use those iPad gestures that you're familiar with as a touch user of an iPad. So to get full iPad access, we're using inbuilt Assistive Touch plus the eye tracker, and that gives you access to any type of app within the Apple App Store. There are lots and lots of support materials available for the TD Pilot. It will come with these getting started guides in the box, and these are all available for download off the Tobii Dynavox website as well. So if you're new to it, please have a look at the support resources. I think they've done a nice job in terms of making them easy to follow with lots of picture supports, and there's a lot of video supports as well on the Tobii Dynavox website. So in terms of practicalities, from an Australian point of view, Link Assistive can do these product demos with clients like we do with all our equipment. Maybe that's in person, maybe it's over telehealth via Zoom. We can do that with you. The TD Pilot is part of our 3-week loan library, so you can just request a trial of the TD Pilot via the website. At the moment, there's a few months wait on them. So if you're interested in trialing, jump on the wait list. It's also available in our paid rental scheme. I know lots of our users have been using this option to get access to equipment a little bit quicker or for longer. So you've got options of a minimum 3-month trial up to 6 months, and there is a cost involved with that. In terms of the purchase price, the TD Pilot at the moment is $16,695. And that includes it coming all set up, the TD Copilot, TD Snap with pod page sets as well, TD Talk, and all the tech support from Link Assistive. It's also part of the TD Tobii Dynavox Care program, so it's got a year of accidental damage cover as well. Like I said, there's a lot of product support available online. In terms of knowing whether the TD Pilot is right for someone, there are still our other Windows options. So the iMobile 5, the iSeries devices. So we've updated our comparison between all these systems. I think it's really a matter of breaking down what features someone needs and whether the TD Pilot meets those best. but there's still certainly a place for our Windows-based devices, particularly if you're working with someone who needs highly customized page sets, calibrations, is looking at environmental control and things. So if you want that comparison chart, let us know. I'll email it out to everyone that attended today, so you can start to compare and look at the differences between the options. So in summary, and then I'll open up to questions. It comes as one unit. You can't bring your own iPad. So the iPad plus the TD Pilot base is configured and managed. So when it arrives really as a dedicated device. It's not as plug and play as others. In terms of key features, like I said, it's made for iPad, so it's gone through all that approval process of Apple standards. It's using the iPad iOS platform. We've got the partner window, 10 hours battery life, and you've got your eye tracker that you know already and your option for communication. If you're interested in more webinars and things, like I said, we've got 2 more coming up, one really focused on the neurodegenerative population and one on the developmental. Please sign up. We'll do recordings of them as well. If you need any further information, please contact us at Link Assistive. All of us are more than happy to answer any questions and help you out in accessing trials and getting to know the TD Pilot. So I'll